Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into a fascinating story, sometimes a bit cautionary too, actually. We're looking at the cart era of cannabis.
That's right.
We've gone through a whole stack of Nug Notes excerpts, basically tracing the wild ride of THC cartridges.
Yeah.
You know, from when they first burst onto the scene to causing a major public health crisis.
It was quite the journey.
Yeah. So our mission here in this deep dive is to figure out how this product, which, let's face it, promised amazing discretion, super convenient, how it spiraled so fast, and ended up, well, reshaping the whole cannabis landscape. We think you'll find some surprising stuff here. How tech, culture, money, public health, all kind of collided, all focused on this tiny little pen-sized device. Okay, let's unpack this. So, thinking back maybe early 2010s, what was it about THC carts? Why were they such a game changer right away? The sources call them revolutionary. What made them feel so different?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is just how fundamentally they changed the whole act of consuming cannabis. You know, before carts, getting high almost always meant, well, a lighter, right? Smoke. And that very distinct smell.
That skunky trail, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to miss.
Exactly, hard to miss. But then, boom, suddenly you have this device, looks like a pen, you push a button, take a quick puff, and cannabis just went totally covert.
Wow.
I mean, that level of discretion, it was completely unprecedented. People could use it almost anywhere without anyone noticing. The culture hadn't seen anything quite like it. You know, imagine, like, taking a discreet hit at a concert, or maybe a student vaping between classes. It was a whole new ballgame.
That is a massive shift, just in behavior alone. But it wasn't just cultural, right? This sounds like some serious tech was involved.
Yeah.
How did they actually manage to pack that punch into something so small and discreet?
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely a tech innovation. It really took root out in California. You had pioneers like G Pen PAX. They were at the forefront. What they did, quite cleverly, was fuse the e-cigarette technology that was already around with new cannabis extraction techniques.
Oh, okay.
So the key bits were these slim batteries, usually with a 510 thread.
Which is like the standard connector.
Yeah.
That makes things interchangeable.
Precisely. That was key for the market. So you had the battery and then the pre-filled oil cartridges. And the result was a high that was potent, yes, but also super portable. And crucially, the smell was way lighter.
Much less obvious.
Much less obvious, which made them perfect for, well, almost everyone. Medical patients needing discretion, partygoers, anyone who wanted stealth, really.
Okay, so the tech is there. It's convenient. It's discreet. How fast did it actually catch on? Our sources say by around, 2018, they were pretty much everywhere, hitting dispensaries nationwide. What drove that explosion? It seems incredibly fast.
Oh, it was astonishingly fast. That combination, potent, discreet, fits in your pocket, it was just, well, almost irresistible for a huge range of people.
Yeah.
And they quickly became more than just a product. They turned into a kind of cultural symbol. The Nug Notes mentioned them being like a flex on Instagram, you know? A status thing almost.
Interesting. Like showing off the latest gadget.
Kind of, yeah. You'd hear about students vaping in lectures, professionals taking a quick private hit on a lunch break. Stuff that was impossible with flour.
Right.
But at the same time, they were also just super practical. The go-to for people swapping joints for something techier, more convenient for busy lives. That mix of being both a statement and a solution, that really pushed them mainstream hard.
That's fascinating, filling both a social and a practical gap. Did this super fast adoption create new kinds of cannabis users or change how people thought about it?
Oh, absolutely. This boom actually created what our sources call a cart-only generation. Yeah. A whole group of consumers who only vaped, maybe never even tried flower. For them, cannabis was the cart. Sleek, modern, techie.
Wow.
And it totally changed the game for sellers, too. You know, the classic I got flower line.
Yeah.
It started changing to I got carts. That became the main thing people were asking for and selling.
That says a lot.
It really does. It shows just how much consumer demand shifted and how the market, both legal and illicit, had to adapt. Carts became dominant fast. A permanent shift, really.
Okay, so far it's this amazing story, right?
Yeah.
Innovation, huge growth. But like a lot of booms, there's usually a darker side. The Nug Notes talk about something called the price gap push. Can you unpack the sort of economic side of this, the legal issues that started causing problems?
Yeah, this is where things get complicated and dangerous. It was really about economics meeting legality or the lack thereof. So in a legal place like California, right, a 1-gram cart, properly tested and taxed, that could run you maybe $40, $60.
Okay, standard dispensary prices.
Right. But then you look at the street, Illicit carts. You could find them for $20, $30, often two for $40.
Whoa, that's a huge difference. Half price or less.
Exactly. And that massive price gap created a huge pull. For millions of people, especially those watching their wallets, it was tough to justify the legal price.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it drove them straight to the illicit market. And what they found there, well, it often looked legit on the outside. Flashy packaging, but inside. Mystery oil, basically.
Yeah, that price gap is just,
Yeah.
staggering. And it sounds like it fueled this whole underground economy. You mentioned sophisticated. How did that work? How could it compete so easily?
It was incredibly hard to stamp out because honestly, getting into the game was pretty easy and the profits were huge. Our sources paint a picture of this really well-organized hidden network. The notes call it a trap supply chain.
Trap supply chain.
Yeah. Think about it. Empty cartridges plus super convincing fake packaging designed to look exactly like the popular legal brands were just pouring out of places like Alibaba, certain districts in LA known for vape stuff. Oh, wow. Mass-produced.
Mass-produced and easily available. So basically, anyone with access to bulk distillate, that's the purified cannabis oil, could just buy the empties, buy the vape boxes, fill them up, seal them, and boom, you've got your own branded carts.
Jeez.
This whole setup fueled what the notes call a coast-to-coast trap economy, an illegal but really effective distribution system pumping these untested products everywhere super fast.
And with that kind of setup, quality control. Forget about it. The dangers must have been enormous. The sources mention a counterfeit craze. What kind of fakes were out there? And what were the real hidden dangers inside?
Oh, the market was flooded, absolutely flooded with counterfeits. You had knockoffs of all the big legal names, Kingpen, Brass Knuckles, Rove, Stasi, you name it. And the packaging could be almost identical, really hard to tell apart.
Wow.
And then beyond the direct fakes, you had these completely made-up street brands, things like Dank Vapes, Mario Karts, huge names on the street, but totally unconnected to any legit company.
Just invented brands. Exactly. But the really scary part, the terrifying danger, was what was in those flashy boxes. Often, it was oil that was cut, diluted, sometimes laced with pesticides, even heavy metals, all being sold as top-shelf stuff for half the price. You just had absolutely no clue what you were actually inhaling. And the consequences, as we found out, they were devastating.
Devastating is the right word. Because all this, the price gap, the supply chain, the fakes, it all tragically converged, didn't it, at a crisis point?
Yeah.
Tell us about the e-volley crisis in 2019. What happened and what did it really expose?
E-volley, yeah, that was the undeniable turning point. It stands for e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury. Basically, in 2019, these severe, sudden lung injuries started popping up all across the U.S.
And the link was?
The link to illicit THC carts became terrifyingly clear very quickly. Over 80%, think about that, 80% of the reported cases were tied directly to these unregulated street carts.
80%, wow.
And the culprit they identified was vitamin E acetate.
Vitamin E, and that's safe.
Well, it's safe in things like skin creams, yeah. But heat it up and inhale it into your lungs. It acts like an oil. It coats the lung tissue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, causing severe irritation, inflammation, damage that could quickly lead to respiratory failure. It was awful. The crisis had tragic results, mostly young people facing really severe breathing problems. Some even died. It just brutally exposed the deadly risks of this completely unchecked craze.
The human cost.
Yeah.
Just terrifying. It really hammered home the need for consumer safety, didn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this wasn't just a health emergency. It was this stark, very public lesson about the dangers of a market totally outside any rules. It forced everyone, consumers, regulators, to confront just how critical it is to know your source, know what's actually in the product.
Right.
It raised that urgent question. What responsibility do we have for safety when new products evolve so fast, especially when the bad actors can so easily exploit that demand for cheapness and convenience? It really showed innovation without oversight.
Well, it can be incredibly dangerous. So after such a brutal wake-up call, how did things change? How did the industry consumers react? What was this post-2019 shift our sources talk about? Was it effective?
Well, in the wake of Evil Eye, there were definitely significant changes in the legal markets. States moved pretty fast to ban specific additives, especially vitamin E acetate. That was top of the list.
Makes sense.
And the licensed brands, they stepped up too. They brought in better authentication systems, QR codes, serial numbers, things to help people verify they had a legit product.
Okay, so some positive steps.
Some positive steps, yes. But consumer behavior kind of split. Some people, understandably, just quit vaping carts altogether, went back to flour or edibles.
Can't blame them.
Not at all. But others, they stayed loyal to their plug packs, their street sources. which just shows how entrenched that illicit market had become.
Still sticking with the risky stuff, even after Evale.
Yeah, and that illicit market, it proved incredibly adaptable. It rebranded, it faked the new QR codes, constantly trying to stay one step ahead. Plus, they got clever. They started exploiting loopholes around hemp-derived THC.
Ah, like Delta 8 and that stuff.
Exactly, using the 2018 Farm Bill, which legalized hemp, to create these sort of quasi-legal but still largely unregulated products, finding new ways to operate, basically.
Wow. It's incredible how resilient, how adaptable that illicit side is. Just he keeps finding ways around things. So we look back at this whole era, say 2016 to 2022. What's the lasting legacy? What's the big picture impact of the cart era on cannabis overall?
Well, connecting it all, the cart era really did fundamentally change cannabis consumption, no doubt about it. It absolutely made THC use discreet, portable, tech-forward, like never before. It opened cannabis up to whole new groups of people who maybe never would have smoked.
That's true.
And it's but it also starkly highlighted the dangers of innovation when it completely outpaces safety and regulation, the crisis it created. It definitely fostered a deeper skepticism among consumers, a demand for transparency that's still shaping the legal market today.
People want to know what they're getting now.
Exactly. This whole era proved just how fast trends can explode, but also how dangerous that can be when safety gets left behind. It changed how people view cannabis products, demanding more accountability, more clarity.
What an incredible story. From this, miracle of discretion to a terrifying health crisis, and now into this more regulated but clearly still challenging space. The journey of THC carts is just such a powerful reminder, isn't it? How fast tech and culture can move, and the real human costs when the rules lag behind.
Indeed. It showed us really clearly how innovation can just race ahead of regulation, and how chasing convenience without that oversight can have these huge hidden costs. And, as new ways to consume keep popping up, and they will, it leaves us with a pretty important question, I think. What's the shared responsibility here? Between consumers, regulators. How do we ensure safety and transparency, especially when those lines between legal and illegal keep blurring and shifting? It's definitely something to keep thinking about as this whole landscape continues to evolve so quickly.